Two, it's Miss Buckley here. So I am going to be going through your science lesson today. And in your science lesson, you are going to be making observations. So in order to make observations, you are going to know the meaning of different scientific vocabulary. You are going to be able to make predictions about what you think is going to happen. And then finally, we are going to observe a science experiment. Now, last week we received a letter, and the letter explained that London was burning and they needed our help. They needed our help because they had buckets and they tried to fill their buckets with water, but their buckets had a hole in. So we had to think of a material that they could use to repair their buckets so they could safely grab the water from the River Thames and put out the fire. Can you remember what your prediction was? Superstars. All of you had such fantastic predictions, and we are going to look a little bit more about the different types of materials that we might be able to use to repair these buckets. But first, we are going to explore what these scientific words mean. Our first word is absorbent. Repeat after me, absorbent. And the word absorbent describes any material that can soak up water. So a sponge is absorbent. And the reason why a sponge is absorbent is because if you were to place sponge in water or place water on top of a sponge, this water will get soaked into the sponge. Okay, so the word absorbent means any material that can soak up water or soak up any type of liquid. The next word we're looking at is waterproof. Repeat after me, waterproof. The word waterproof describes any material that does not allow water in. So for example, a raincoat, the material that a raincoat is made out of is waterproof. And the reason why the material a raincoat is made out of is waterproof is because once you put it on and go outside when it's raining, the rainwater does not go inside of the coat. Your clothes that are underneath the raincoat will not get wet. So that means that the material is waterproof. What we're going to do now is I am going to show you different objects that are made from different materials, and you are going to tell me whether they are waterproof or whether they are not waterproof. We have a plastic bag. Now, is a plastic bag waterproof? Why? A plastic bag is waterproof and it is made out of plastic. It tells you what material is made out of in the name, a plastic bag. It is made out of plastic. And the reason why we know a plastic bag is waterproof is because if you splash water onto the plastic bag, the water will just slide down the plastic bag. It wouldn't go into the plastic bag, it should slide down, and the things inside the plastic bag should not get wet. Now we have kitchen roll. Is kitchen roll waterproof? Why? Superstars, kitchen roll is not waterproof. And the reason why we know that kitchen roll isn't waterproof is because if we were to place water on top of kitchen roll, the water should get soaked up into the actual kitchen roll. Okay, so We can use another word to describe the kitchen roll. We wouldn't describe it as waterproof. We would describe it as absorbent. And again, the reason why we would describe kitchen roll as absorbent is because water gets soaked up by the kitchen roll. Trainers. Are trainers waterproof? Why? Now, trainers are made out of two materials. The top of the material, some trainers can be made out of leather, some trainers can be made out of really hard plastic, and that's the top of the trainers. The bottom of the trainers is made out of rubber. And I want you to have a think about when you're walking in your trainers and when you're stepping in puddles. Does the water go inside your trainers? Well, if your laces are tied up really tightly, the water shouldn't go inside your trainers. So trainers are indeed waterproof. So the plastic, the rubber and the leather that are made out of trainers are waterproof. Next, we have a window, and we know that windows are made out of glass. Now, is a window waterproof? Why? Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Windows are waterproof. And the reason why we know that they're waterproof is because when it's raining, you can actually see the water droplets sliding down the glass. So glass is waterproof. Tissue. Do you think tissue is waterproof? Why? So tissue is not waterproof. And the reason why it isn't waterproof is because if you were to splash water onto tissue, the water droplets will get soaked up into the tissue. So instead of describing the tissue as waterproof, we can describe it as superstars. We can describe it as absorbent. A sponge. Do you think a sponge is waterproof? Why? So a sponge is not waterproof again because water does not slide off of a sponge. But a sponge can be described as absorbent because it soaks up all the water within it. A plaster. Now, can a plaster be waterproof? We can have waterproof plasters and we can have non-waterproof plasters. So the plasters that are made out of fabric, they are not waterproof. They can be described as absorbent because once you splash water onto the plaster will get soaked up into the fabric. However, the plasters that have a thin sheet of film, a thin sheet of plastic film on top of it, that can be described as waterproof. And the reason that can be described as waterproof is because if you splash water on top of the thin plastic, the water will slide off. A swimming cap. We should know this. Is a swimming cap waterproof? Absolutely. And does anybody know what a swimming cap is made out of? A swimming cap is made out of a material called latex, and latex is a little bit like a stretchy rubber, okay? And absolutely, a swimming cap is waterproof, which is why we wear it when we go swimming, so our hair does not get wet, so the water slides off of the swimming cap and doesn't get into anything that's underneath it. An umbrella. Is an umbrella waterproof? Superstars, you are right. An umbrella is absolutely waterproof and an umbrella is made out of plastic. A rubber duck. Is that waterproof? Yes, it is waterproof, and we know it's waterproof because when you use a rubber duck in the bath, water doesn't go into it. It actually just sits on top of it. It slides down it. And a rubber duck is made out of? It's made out of rubber. Are goggles waterproof? Why? Goggles are in fact waterproof, and goggles are made from a really stretchy fabric and a really hard plastic, which is the bit that you can look through. Okay, and the reason why we know that goggles are waterproof is, again, water does not go through it. If you were to put goggles on your eyes and go swimming, the water has no way to go into your eyes. It just slides off of the goggles. That's how we know that it is waterproof. Bread. Is bread waterproof? No, bread is not waterproof. If we were to put water on top of bread, the bread will soak up all of the water. So what word can we use to describe bread? We can use the word absorbent, because the word absorbent means when liquid can get soaked up by that material. Rubber gloves. Are rubber gloves waterproof? Absolutely, rubber gloves are waterproof. That's why lots of adults place their hands in rubber gloves when they're washing the dishes, so their hands do not get wet. There is no way for the water to go inside and their hands do not get wet. Okay, so now it is time for you to watch your science experiment. So I would like you to ask your adult if they can click on the link that is on our remote learning timetable, and it will bring you to our science experiment. And while you're observing the science experiment, I want you to have a look to see if you can use the words absorbent and waterproof to explain what you can see. Enjoy.